week on Motoring 90.
The comments we hear back are that it's, without question, top-line television. It's network quality.
I think it's getting more and more towards where it's not as much of a luxury or a toy, per se. It's becoming, you know, something that you should really have.
Motoring 90 is brought to you by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will.
Hello, everybody. You know, one of my favorite movies last year was Driving Miss Daisy. In fact, it won an Oscar for Best Picture. Remember the chauffeur who was driving Miss Daisy? He was played, of course, by actor Morgan Freeman. What's this got to do with motoring, though, you're asking? Well, this week, the kid is going to get the inside scoop on how to become a professional chauffeur. Come with me. We're at Bentley Limousine in Mississauga, Ontario, and they rent out limousines of all shapes and sizes, and they all come equipped with professional chauffeurs. And later on, we're going to meet some of those chauffeurs and also check out some of the hot cars they get to drive. But first, we're going to join Sandra Neal, and she's got a story about how you can protect your car from the bad guys.
Picture this scenario. It's the end of the day and you're walking towards the parking lot and all you want to do is jump in your car and head for home when suddenly your worst fears have been realized. Your car's been stolen. Statistics Canada reports that over 80,000 vehicles are stolen every year in this country. Not surprisingly, 30% of those stolen cars originate in Ontario and 28% in Quebec. But car owners are now fighting back. Electronic stores are discovering that it's not just the stereo and video departments that are generating traffic, it's also the car alarms.
I think it's getting more and more towards where it's not as much of a luxury or a toy, per se. It's becoming, you know, something that you should really have. It depends on who the customer is. If you have someone come in that's had a stereo stolen, the window broken, and the dashboard scratched, then obviously it's to prevent that from happening again if possible. Other things are an exotic vehicle. People don't want anyone even near their car. Again, it's mainly to deter theft.
Over 200 different kinds of vehicle security systems are now on the market as consumers look to protect their investments with more than just insurance. Prices range from $150 to $2,500 for top-of-the-line security. And every year there's something new.
And who says kids are the only ones with teddy bears? It's quite loud, as you heard. The idea of this is it's an ultrasonic motion sensor built into a teddy bear. It's an alarm that you can take with you into rental vehicles or whatever you like. And it's kind of cute too, don't you think? As far as state-of-the-art car security goes, the Code Alarm Model XT Plus is the flagship of our entire lineup. It starts off at $650 plus installation and can go beyond $2,500, including the installation and all the options. Options range from starter kill, flashing lights. It can arm and disarm your home alarm system. It can unlock your car. It can start your car. You know, basically the sky's the limit with this particular piece.
Christie Electronics installs up to 40 car alarms a month. It's not uncommon to see Ferraris or Porsches in this garage, but more often than not, security systems are installed to protect what's inside the vehicle.
By what we see, by far and away the most common reason for putting a security system into the vehicle is the stereo. More people have stereos than telephones, and you know the amount of money that can be spent on a stereo system is far in excess of a phone. This one here is going to be over $13,000, but things of $100,000 or $120,000 are possible if you have the money or the vehicle.
And with so much inside to protect, some vehicles are equipped with more than one alarm. The additional system is called an Invisibeam, and if intruders get too close, this town car will let them know it.
Step back or the alarm will sound. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Do you think we'll ever see the day when you could actually have a car rigged up to the police station just like you could an alarm in your home?
The first one was a 1987 Porsche 911 that was done in California about 2 years ago. And what that did is it just ordered the cellular telephone to ring. I don't know if it was programmable, so it could have been a police station or home or whatever. And there was an answering machine built into it, so what it would do is say, I am located here and here, and I have been violated or broken into, or whatever you want. So yeah, it's already there. It is possible now if you're willing to play around with it and pre-program the thing every time. What will happen, I think, is a combination of the ETAC navigation system, which Bosch is working on and Alpine has out in California again. That pinpoints the location of the vehicle, and obviously that would be very easy to interface with.
Whether you're spending $150 or $2,500 on a car alarm, what seems to work most, sometimes more than the noise or the speeches, is the intimidation factor. A thief is still more likely to break into a vehicle that isn't alarmed. Sandra Neal for Motoring 90.
You were too close to the vehicle. Step back. Thank you.
Yeah, I think they do. Because if somebody hears a noise around the car, they'll look and see what's going on.
If somebody wants to break into a car, I don't think nothing's going to stop him, right? He sees a stereo, he sees what he wants, he's going to go after it.
Yes, I do think so, because if the person is there, it would help to scare them away.
There's a couple beside me that keep going off all the time, and how they go off that often that people just disregard it. At least little thing sends them off.
Sure, if you can afford one.
Hi, I'm Graham Fletcher, coming up on Test Drive the 1990 Chrysler Imperial. A familiar name, but a lot of new technology.
Test Drive with Graham Fletcher.
The subject to this week's test drive is the 1990 Chrysler Imperial. Now, many of you may remember the name from a few years back when it adorned a full-size rear-wheel drive luxury car. Well, this year's version still features many of the same luxury items, is still full-sized, but is driven around by the front wheels. The sophisticated electronic airbag suspension fared reasonably well on the pylon test, and it does offer superb highway comfort, but hit a relatively small bump in the road and the whole thing becomes unglued. This gave rise to a lot of interior noise and a considerable amount of apprehension until the suspension actually regains its composure. Chrysler's 3.3-litre V6 engine is fairly potent, offering good response throughout the operating range. The idle, however, was fairly rough. In the acceleration test, we managed to eclipse the 10-second mark fairly easily. Matched with this new engine is Chrysler's new 4-speed automatic transmission. The format of this transmission differs from others because Chrysler uses electronically operated solenoids to initiate and coordinate the shift pattern rather than relying on some of the usual hydraulically operated components. This results in smooth and timely shifts throughout the operating range. This car features a terrific Bosch anti-lock brake system. The stopping distance were, as usual, short and straight with very little pedal pulsation. All in all, very well executed. The seats are upholstered in a fine leather and feature all the padding you'll find in your favorite armchair. They are, however, at the opposite end of the orthopedic scale to most other automobile seats. I liked, however, the 2 coffee cup holders that are hidden away in the armrests. The Imperial features a supplemental restraint system in the form of a driver's side airbag. This does not replace the seatbelt, but rather supplements its use, significantly reducing the risk of serious head injury in the event of a frontal impact. The instrument cluster is of the digital type, and as such suffers from all of the usual drawbacks. The remainder of the driver controls are logically placed and easy to use. Above the rearview mirror is the clock and information center, which unfortunately conveys limited information. Chrysler's Infinity sound system is superb, featuring a 5-band graphic equalizer and a unique joystick that replaces the fade balance buttons. To protect all of this is a security system that will give unwanted visitors a very rude awakening. Before going to my pet peeve, I thought I'd just show you how much room is actually back here. It's amazing. Now, my pet peeve is to do with the suspension setup. The air springs do give a beautiful ride on the highway, but I was surprised by just how easily the suspension lost its composure. A relatively minor bump in the road would give you quite a jar. Now to the scoreboard and see how I rated the rest of the 1990 Chrysler Imperial. On flat even pavement, the Imperial rides impeccably well. Throw in a bump or two and look out. In short, the handling characteristics on rough roads leave a lot to be desired. The Bosch anti-lock brake system worked to perfection, hauling a relatively heavy car to rest in short order. Absolutely no complaints here. During the test, we averaged a commendable 109 feet. I was pleasantly surprised by the fact this car managed to beat the 10-second mark in the race to 100 kilometers an hour. This and the quiet operation complement the Imperial's luxury very nicely. We averaged a commendable 24 miles per gallon, or 11.7 litres per 100 kilometers, which given the size and weight of this vehicle actually surprised me. The Imperial offers a very peaceful environment in which to enjoy the superb quality of the stereo radio, and there was very little wind or engine noise evident. All in all, a well-executed vehicle that offers plenty of room and luxury. I think, though, it will find the competition in this segment of the market extremely tough, perhaps even too tough.
Well, my chauffeur apprenticeship is continuing here at Bentley Limousine in Mississauga, Ontario. And with me right now is the owner of this limousine business, John Bentley. And John, welcome to Motoring 90. And the first question I got to ask you is, what kind of car are we sitting in right now?
We're sitting in a 1937 Rolls-Royce Windovers limousine. It's a full 5-passenger limousine in the rear. It's powered by a little 25 horsepower 6-cylinder engine with a 4-speed transmission. Top speed is between 50 and 55 miles per hour.
Well, obviously, the limousine business is not restricted to those stretch limos that we see so often in downtown streets anymore.
Oh, definitely not. What we have on the right there is a 1955 Austin Rolls-Royce Princess. It's a full 7-passenger limousine. We have a couple of Bentleys, the original Bentleys. They're 1950, 1951. They're more or less for a bride and groom, or for an older bride and groom, like for anniversaries, or birthday parties, or graduations for just that, couple that wants to be by themselves, as well as the late model Lincoln Super Stretches. I pride myself in the training I give my chauffeurs, proper chauffeur etiquette, defensive driving, first aid, firefighting. I guess one of the main things that make us different is the full uniform chauffeur white glove service.
You've restored all these cars yourself. Do you also do the mechanical work?
I do most of the major mechanical work myself when I have time.
Well, I know a guy who would get along with you real well, and I'm talking, of course, of our resident mechanic on Motoring 90, Bill Gardiner. So let's go to his garage and find out what he's up to this week.
We've got a couple of carburetors here, one real dirty unit we've removed from the vehicle. It's got a real obvious defect. And we've got another clean unit here that we've already had in the parts cleaner and partially disassembled. We can identify the 3 major sections to the carb. The top section is referred to as the air horn. It's the top cover of the carburetor, and it houses the choke plate and the secondary air valves. This particular one is a 4-barrel carburetor. When we flip it over, we can see the emulsion tubes that drop down into the float bowl and pick up fuel. We'll set that aside, move on to the float bowl, the middle section of the carburetor, and you can see the 2 primary throttle bores and the booster venturis, these circular rings, and the secondary barrels of the carburetor. In here we have the plastic float, and that's an item that often has to be replaced. It loses its buoyancy, and our float level rises. The carb becomes too rich and wastes a lot of fuel. And the lower section of the carburetor, known as the throttle body, it has the actual throttle blades, the primary throttle blades, and the secondary throttle blades that open at full throttle. And it has a number of vacuum attachment ports for various emission control devices, and throttle return springs for the secondaries. We can flip it over and see some of the ports that feed the idle mixture down here, and a port that feeds the brake booster, the power brake booster at the back here. Now that unit that we had on the car that was giving us problem, we've removed the air horn, and I can see the problem here. The accelerator pump had become stuck in the air horn cover here. This should be a nice loose fit, and it was actually seized in there as a result of the vehicle being left to sit inactive for a period of time. Now, these units are quite complex inside. There's a lot of critical adjustments to be made and some very delicate parts to be replaced. But it's not something to be intimidated by. Anybody with a reasonable mechanical knowledge can handle this job. But you should follow the instructions carefully and make all the adjustments exactly to specification. Cleaning is very important, and on-vehicle adjustments are also very important. Until next week, I'm Bill Gardiner for Motoring 90.
Our studio's in Dallas, Texas. We have over 70,000 square feet of studio facilities, which are truly state-of-the-art.
We're obviously looking at a super stretch limo, and inside Lucy, a veteran chauffeur. And Lucy, I like the uniform and the gloves. Very nice, very nice. How long have you been driving?
A couple of years.
And tell me a little bit about this one. It looks like a super big limo.
As a matter of fact, it's a beautiful car. We have a flat floor, 6 customers can get in, and it's a very comfortable car.
What do you think makes a good chauffeur?
Good chauffeur makes if you understand the customer, their needs, and have a good communication with them. They're good with you, and you're good with them too, of course.
Who taught you how to be a chauffeur?
Mr. Bentley.
Maybe
Yes.
you can teach me later?
We'll try.
Okay, well, look, stick around, because we're now going to join Steve Grant. And Steve discovered recently a new high-tech method of teaching car salesmen how to sell.
Let's face it, the common perception out there is that car salesmen are only interested in one thing, and that's your money. Well, to a certain extent, that's true. But now the industry has become so competitive that dealerships have been forced to look for an edge anywhere they can find it. Well, now they're tapping into a pretty unlikely source.
It's the Automotive Satellite Television Network, and it's the latest teaching aid being used by car dealerships in an effort to better train staff. Produced in Dallas, Texas, ASTN offers 8 hours of programming a day on everything from telephone techniques to the ins and outs of dealing with irate customers.
It was started by a gentleman by the name of Carl Westcott in Dallas, Texas, about 3.5, 4 years ago. And this gentleman owned 10 car dealerships at one point in time, and also owned the NBC television affiliate in Texas. He saw a need for training and knew what a problem it was in dealerships, so he put together the network and now does training via satellite.
The eyes of such customers.
Hi, I'm David Murphy. We talk a lot in
Well,
these
what we
shows
do
about
is provide live daily broadcast direct to dealerships via satellite. We actually go to the dealership and install a satellite dish on their roof and then beam programming in on a daily basis. The purpose is to provide training for virtually everyone in the dealership.
We came on with ASTN approximately about 3 years ago, just under about 3 years ago. The biggest problem with ASTN is there's so much information. It's just packed with information for all different departments. And of course the time constraints to be able to actually watch all of the program is one of our biggest problems.
Hi everybody, and welcome to the new Shop Talk series, Service Management. I'm Alan Ackles, and I'll be your Shop Talk host.
How do they do it? Volume, volume, volume. Since signing on the air in 1986, ASTN now has 7,000 dealers taking the service, making it by far the largest satellite television network anywhere.
A dealer could never afford to have the people either into his dealership or send his people out on a regular basis to see the kind of speakers that we have on the network. The reason it's so inexpensive is because we have over 7,000 dealers online throughout North America. And of course the cost of production is spread amongst those dealers. The cost is $789 a month, which includes all of the equipment and program guides and so on, everything.
Yo, Dale Burns speaking. How are you, Tom? Hey, buddy, what do you got for me? I know you stepped up to 26. I know that you went through chaos at the dealership. I know that you put a for sale sign on your phone room.
Well, certainly one of the favorite people amongst the salesmen is a fellow by the name of Tom Stuker. Tom's based out of Chicago, and Tom really is our phone guru. And Tom's show, he's on twice a week, revolves around how to properly handle a telephone.
What we're we're looking for is an LE, like a charcoal or a navy blue, whatever, dark color.
Okay, I've got a good availability of those.
Okay.
Who am I speaking to?
This is Bill.
Bill?
Mm-hmm.
All right, Bill, and how do you spell your last name?
Preston, Preston. T-O-N.
T-O-N. All right, Bill. When would be a good time for you to come in?
Well, I don't know. I'm just shopping around right now. How much are they?
Well, Bill, to give you a price right over the phone, I don't know for sure. Different LEs come with different equipment, so there'll be different prices on them. We just have to sit down and figure out what you wanted exactly on one, and then work the price up from there.
The guys who are watching this, the guys and the women who are watching this, go home at night, watch television, network television, know what good TV is supposed to look like. Was there a danger to not be too hokey when you first embarked on this venture?
Well, certainly the comments we hear back are that it's without question top-line television. It's network quality. Our studio's in Dallas, Texas. We have over 70,000 square feet of studio facilities, which are truly state-of-the-art. And we have the most professional people from the TV industry and from the automotive industry combined together to really produce first-class programming.
This is the desk. It's where I work. This is the chair. It's where I sit. My name, the manager. My salesman's name, Cannon, Bill Cannon. I was working a difficult deal. Bill needed this sale badly, but he was getting too involved with the customer. He didn't have a commitment when he walked into my office. I had to keep calm and level-headed. Bill needed my help. I gave him the facts, just the facts. I told him not to give anything away, not just yet. But suddenly something went wrong, terribly wrong. I couldn't believe what I saw. Bill started to give the customer everything he had. It was when he gave the shirt off his back that I knew for certain my desk system wasn't working.
This will be fine, driver. You're looking at a 1955 Austin Princess. This was once owned by Princess Margaret. That's right, she sat in this very seat. Well, that is it for this week. As for my chauffeur career, I don't know. I'm not ready yet. I think I'm going to leave it to the pros. Alberto, to the church. See you next week. You stop for a hamburger and french fries on the way?
Motoring 90 is brought to you by Quaker State. The big Q stands for quality. Always has, always will. If you have any questions or suggestions, drop us a line at Motoring 90 in care of Post Office Box 284, Station J, Toronto, Ontario, M4J 4Y1.